back to this article titled, "For 90 years, light bulbs were designed to burn out. Now that's coming to LED bulbs." So it says, in 1924, representatives of the world's leading light bulb manufacturers formed Phoebus, a cartel that fixed the average life of an incandescent bulb at 1,000 hours, ensuring that people would have to regularly buy bulbs and keep the manufacturers in business. But hardware store LED bulbs have a typical duty cycle of 25,000 hours, meaning that the average American household will only have to buy new bulbs every 42 years or so. So basically once every house you live in, maybe, and if you live for a reasonably long time and you only live in 2 houses. So that's a terrible metric. I don't know why I'm saying that, but you get the idea. It's not very much. The lighting industry is panicked about socket saturation when all household bulbs have been replaced with long-lasting LED bulbs. I don't like LED, by the way. They're too bright. They're not as natural as the other ones, the sort of more orangey ones.
Well, I mean, I have complained to no end on Twitter about LED headlights being used in cars, blinding me. And to all of you people who responded to my tweet that one time, saying, oh, you don't have to just look at the headlights. You know, when I've got them reflected in my side mirrors straight into my eyes from some prick who refuses to overtake me no matter how much I slow down and try and wave him past. That's what I'm complaining about. I can't really do that much about that. I know I've got my main mirror that I can use and I can flip it down so that I don't get the headlight straight in my eyes from that, but the side mirrors still get in my eyes and I hate it. Stop it.
It's completely unavoidable as well when you're going along a motorway or a dual carriageway and you've got oncoming traffic next to you and they've got full beam on. It's like right in your face, isn't it?
It's awful.
But it carries on to say, there are signs that they're moving to limit the longevity of LED bulbs, albeit without the grossly illegal cartels of the Phoebus era. Philips is selling $5 LED bulbs that have a 10,000 hour duty cycle. So that is still less than a regular LED bulb, but it's, 10 times better than the previous cartel. That's still not great, though, in that they're designing products that could, in theory, be much, much better for a very, very slight cost on behalf of the manufacturer. So you're spending a lot more money on an inferior product over your lifetime.
I will say, I think this is one of the much less egregious examples. A light bulb that you maybe have to change every 10,000 hours. But yeah,
it's like an analogy to other areas, isn't it? That things are being produced that could be produced better, that won't break, but they're deliberately produced poorly, so you have to spend more money on them. And it's also worth pointing out as well that there is a light bulb that has never gone out, except when it was accidentally broken. But that doesn't count. It was fixed.
Except the one time it went out, that doesn't count.
Well, someone broke it and moving it rather than it.
I might have heard about this in geography in secondary school, but carry on.
So I've got a link from the Guinness Book of World Records, which is probably the single source of my knowledge of how to spell the word simultaneously. But bit of niche Guinness Book of World Records knowledge there. But it goes on to say, the Livermore Centennial Light Bulb at Fire Station Number 6 in Livermore, California, USA, has been burning since it was installed in 1901. As of 2010, the hand-blown bulb has operated at about 4 watts and has been left on 24 hours a day in order to provide night illumination of the fire engines. There has only been one break in its operation when it was removed from one of the fire stations and fitted in another, so it was broken in transit. But I need to see
the carbon footprint of that one light bulb. Not looking good, I bet.
Just rub it in Greta's face, this one light bulb.
This one light bulb disproves your entire career.
But yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, this was made in 1901 and it hasn't broken down out of natural use. It only broke when it was moved.
See, I was always taught that the reason that light bulbs fizzle out the way that they do is due to some degradation with the filament that's kept inside them that eventually just after a while leads to them popping. Or
it doesn't have to be an inevitability, though.
No.
They can be made in a way in which they last forever. Well, in theory,
it can be done. We can improve them.
For a lifetime of the person that buys it is a better way of putting it, I think. I mean, is there anyone alive who was alive in 1901? I don't think so. Certainly,
I very much doubt it. They would be in the Guinness Book of Records as the longest living human ever, I think, at this point. Or at least certainly one of them.
And the final thing I wanted to look at was software, and this is the one that winds me up the most because I've had the most negative experiences about it. And this is where software companies release a newer version of their software that's only compatible with newer hardware or operating systems. And you might think, well, that's a very niche situation, but I'm basically talking about Microsoft, aren't I? It's obvious.
Pile on the Microsoft hate. Bill Gates is going to be furious with us.
Oh, no. We're so supportive of all of his other endeavours. Oh, wait, no.
He's going to come over here and sag his depressing man tits at us aggressively.
I would like to see that. It'd be quite a spectacle, even if it'd be quite traumatising.
It would. I honestly wouldn't like him to do that. Please don't, Bill. I know you're watching this, Bill.
But this makes it impossible for users with older devices to continue using the software and may encourage them to upgrade. So this is a similar sort of situation to the Apple one, except Microsoft seem to be getting away with it. So there's the case here from itassetmanagement.net, far more reputable than perhaps some of the others, titled Software Enforced Obsolescence Undermines Microsoft's Sustainability Credentials, which is just true, isn't it? And I've copied out a couple of extracts here just to read from. End support for the existing operating system. Oh, no, I'm reading the same part again. In the case of Windows 7, the end of life date was the 14th of the 1st, 2020. And after that date, vital automated security updates ceased, making it complex for organizations to continue to run Windows 7 in sensitive environments with regulatory requirements relating to security patching. So a lot of Microsoft updates is patching security loopholes in their software. But more often than not, I find that Microsoft updates and Windows updates just slow my machine down to a ridiculous level, to the point where it's got good specs, it should be able to run everything perfectly fine, but it doesn't because of a needless update that is just throttling my PC.
Yeah, do you remember when the original Windows 10 updates came in and it introduced that hideous, barely navigable block system by which you had to scroll through everything and you had to find the particular square that, say, the settings that you're looking for were on? Everybody hated it. Nobody.
I think that was Windows 8, wasn't it?
Was it Windows 8?
I've lost track.
I remember it being Windows 10 back in the day, but everybody hated it. Nobody wanted it. And as well as that, it made your computer run slower than it used to. So I get no benefits whatsoever, and Microsoft gets the satisfaction of knowing they've annoyed millions of people. I don't understand it. I don't get why, other than to keep software engineers in work, why they would do something like that.
Well, I think it's to make money, isn't it? That's the solution to most things. So the article carries on to say, whilst organizations can pay for extended security updates to continue to receive automated security updates for a further 3 years, this is prohibitively expensive, with the cost doubling each year. So yes, there is a very, very strong incentive to go along with the updates because they make the act of staying with a particular piece of software so expensive and so flawed in the fact that they're just being so anti-consumer that it's just easier to go along with their updates and go along with their agenda for most people, even though, of course, Microsoft as a company are pretty scummy and I kind of hate them. I mean,
Fair.
one of the main reasons I got a gaming PC is because I refuse to pay for Xbox Live anymore, and I will be whinging about that later as well.
But do you use a Windows gaming PC?
Yes.
There's no escape. There's no escape.
Linux is too complicated, and
Apple, who plays games on an Apple.
Yuck. I have no respect unless you. The only justifiable reason to have an Apple like laptop or something is if you have music software, because lots of music software runs best on
or
Apple.
Is only compatible. So, for instance, I learnt in college on Logic Pro, which is actually very good software for the most part, or at least it was 10 years ago when I was still using it. I've not done it for a long time, guys.
But it carries on to say, in this way, Microsoft actively disincentivizes organizations from remaining on old but perfectly serviceable technology and gets paid for doing so. The primary justification for this is that older platform and software are no longer secure in the face of modern threats, but Is it right for that Microsoft should benefit financially from defects in their own products? Is there any other business that runs this way? Imagine the reaction if Volkswagen or BMW increased servicing and parts costs for vehicles over 10 years old, or told drivers that their car was no longer safe to drive. I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable point there, that this business model is only possible because of the monopoly they have in the market. And I mean, they do have some competition, but it's entirely obvious that Microsoft, Apple, all of these companies are not so much in the same amount of competition that lots of other industries have. They're afforded special privileges.
Well, that's the thing,
by
isn't
the political
it?
Classes.
When we mention the regulatory capture and the fact that there's a symbiotic incestuous relationship between the government, the media, and the corporations share that symbiotic incestuous relationship, because the fact of the matter is that somebody who's CEO of, say, one company, if they don't post ideal profits or something, they will be able to switch and go over into another high-ranking or even CEO position in a separate company. So while there is technically competition there, you want to have it on a certain balance so that the people within those organizations will be able to flip between them at will if so they desire, or if it's necessary for them.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.